let's bring in Victor Davis Hanson, Hoover Institute Senior Fellow, Hoover Institution, forgive me, I always get that one wrong. Victor, great to see you. Thanks for being here. You know, there's no doubt that the fact that not only the governor, but also the AG were working in cahoots with all of these criminals. I mean, we've heard recordings, we've seen pictures of them hobnobbing with these folks. We know from the State Employees Union, which is not a conservative institution, by the way, if anything, they veer to the left. They were saying that Walz himself was belittling and threatening some of these whistleblowers that were trying to spill the beans on these folks, these fraudsters, and he was belittling them and threatening them. I mean, that's against the law. It's the whole state infrastructure that's in on this.
Yeah, it is. And when you look at the cases, they all have local and state exposure to criminality. It wasn't just federal offenses from the federal monies that were dispersed and stolen. So they could have been on this from the very beginning, but all of them have culpability. Even Keith Ellison, the Attorney General, is on tape saying that he welcomes these contributions from the Somali community. So then we have to ask why, David, why were they given this exemption that no one else would have achieved? And I think there were two reasons. One, these officials and the Somali community, as represented by Representative Omar, were so anti-Trump that they kind of made it a cause that they were victims of Trump vindictiveness or something. But more importantly, it's a perfect case of DEI mixing with immigration from these very suspect countries.
Yeah.
And every time you look at what a Somali spokesman said or official said, they always brought in the word racism and discrimination. And it's the same thing with the California truck drivers. It's the same thing with the Middle Eastern students on campus, pro-Hamas. It's the same thing with people coming across the border who are, you know, involved in crimes. Anytime anybody objects, it's, oh, you're a racist, you're a xenophobe.
Right.
And so I think they hid under that DEI protection, and that they thought they had a blank check.
But I think it's, Victor,
exempt.
forgive me for interrupting, I think it's lower than that.
Yeah.
I think, in fact, what was happening here was a circular method of payoffs in which they were getting millions, and now we understand billions of dollars from these scams that they were operating in. Then people like Keith Ellison was meeting with these people saying, don't worry, as Attorney General of this state, I'm not going to pursue these charges. And a couple of weeks later, he was apparently getting money from these people who were getting money through the fraud. So it looks like one of those circular, you know, I'll scratch your back, you scratch mine.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that will be the last shoe to fall, because that will be the most damning. But one of the things that comes up is this recurring larger issue, David, of gratitude. When you look at Ilhan Omar, for example, she was given a free education. She had some suspect allegations about her marrying her brother. She just dismissed that. She was the only person ever to get an exemption to wear a hijab into the Congress. You're not supposed to wear headgear. And then she said, you know, it's the Benjamin's baby. Something happened on 9/11. She had a whole history of anti-Semitic comments. She said the country was trashy, and she said that we were a dictatorship, more or less like Somalia. So she repaid that gratitude not with, you know, that magnanimity, not with gratitude, but with disdain. And I think that she kind of became the poster person for what's wrong with this whole immigration policy, even the legal immigration.
Yeah.
We're letting people in who feel that they have exemption to break our laws and to insult the country that befriended them. And I think American people said, all we want is a little gratitude. All we want is to say that you came from a hellhole and you came in and you're worth $30 million now. Can't you say, please, please, I'm so happy?
Yeah.
But you don't.
Something.
You criticize us all the time.
Something. I mean,
that's all we're asking.
But more than that, it gets to something that Milton Friedman, God rest his soul, spoke about 50 years ago, which is the toxic mix. And he was pro-immigration, by the way. He was very pro-immigration. But with a welfare state, he wasn't. And he said the following. He said, let me get it here, free immigration in the same sense as we had it before 1914 isn't possible today. Why not? Because it is one thing to have free immigration to jobs. It is another thing to have free immigration to welfare. And you cannot have both. In other words, you can't have open immigration as long as you have your welfare state. And they were taking care of exactly that. These Somalis figured out a way of milking the welfare state to the tune of at least $1 billion. And that's where that was what was drawing Somalis into Minneapolis. It wasn't the prospect of getting a job. It was the prospect of getting free money.
Yeah, and you can really see it by the lame excuses that are offered. Tim Walz basically said, I've been so successful and we're such a great state and we're so well run that we attract criminals. That's what he said. And she said that we have no illegal immigrants. We're such a model community that it's only racism that brings these charges. So they say everything but nobody in our community committed felonies. Nobody did. And they never say that. And so I think people are sick of it. I think it's really going to destroy the career, belatedly so, of Tim Walz. I think his days are numbered as a political figure.
Yeah, well, if they weren't, as soon as we saw the way he really acted on stage. But I just had you've been a historian for quite a while. You've written books on civilizations going up and coming down. You wrote one called The End of Sparta. I'm wondering if what we're looking at is something deeper, something that really could threaten the very existence of the United States as a republic. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm very worried that the number of people who say they're victims are oppressed, and the number of people they say are the victimizers. There's too few victimizers for the number of victimized, so they start to bring all of these charges against people, and we don't have any confidence in the American experiment anymore. Nobody defends it anymore. Nobody says it's the best place in the world, except maybe the Trump administration people. And we look at Europe and we say, oh my gosh, no fertility, green policy that destroyed their energy sector, no defense, socialism, or how far behind are we? Because that's kind of the canary in the mine to look at Europe and say, do we really want to become like them? Well, yeah, I think we're all worried about it.
The lack of a unifying principle. I mean, we've had immigrants come in for well over a century in big numbers, but there was a unifying principle of working hard, getting paid, being able to achieve the American dream if you did so. Yes, there were pockets of criminality. We've seen that particularly in New York City. But Donald Trump, he was at a tree lighting ceremony this week in D.C., and he spoke to that, what was once a unifying belief. Let me play that and see if you think it's too old-fashioned. Roll it.
Yeah.
With the birth of Jesus, human history turned from night to day. His word and his example call us to love one another, to serve one another, and to honor the sacred truth that every child is specially made in the image of God. I want to pay my deepest respect and love to all of our great citizens, like 350 million people. We love them all. Whether you like them or not, we love them all. We want to take care of everybody. We have to take care of everybody in our country.
Now, I'm sure the Trump haters were repulsed by that, but is it too old-fashioned to appeal to those basic values that we used to love in this country?
Not at all. And I mean, he appealed to the Christian sense of the United States. He wasn't saying you have to be a Christian.
Right.
He just says that the founders were guided by Christian principles. And that's what's very unique about Christianity. It doesn't demand that everybody be a devotee, as some religions do. In other words, if you're in many places in the world and you're not of the dominant religion, I won't mention which one, and you just say I'm an agnostic or an atheist, you're in bad shape. You're going to be in, there's no such thing. But here, the whole Christian idea of the Sermon on the Mount is forgiveness and tolerance, and that's what he was trying to appeal to. And I thought it was a very good speech.
Well, let's hope it never becomes old-fashioned, and you never become old-fashioned, Victor. Great to see you. Have a wonderful, wonderful Christmas holiday if I don't see you.
You too, David.
Thank you very much.